Hi, my name is Rick Cavallero. I'm the host of S2BC, Served Twice by Choice, where we take stories from veterans and first responders. And my guest today is Michael Neal. Mike, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I've known Mike for over 10 years, so it's not like I just met him and we're going through it. Me and him become friends back in 2010. So Mike's from Monroe County, Arkansas. Mike, tell us about you growing up. You were born in Monroe County?
Yeah, I was born and raised there in Brinkley. Grew up in the funeral business. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. And I tell this story all over the country, and it's really fun to, when you tell people you're a licensed funeral director and embalmer, you grew up in a funeral home, everybody's like, ooh, what the hell?
It's scary.
Yeah, like, you're weird. Well, I didn't know I was weird. Growing up in the funeral business, it's like if your daddy sold used cars, my daddy sold caskets, you know.
Right,
right.
right.
I didn't know any better, but I didn't realize I was weird till I started trying to date women, and they were like, hell no, you live in a funeral home.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Crete. But
Literally at the time you did, right?
yeah, I did. But once they figured out I had a limo, life got a lot better.
Yeah. So your whole family's involved in that,
The
right?
whole
Your
family
brother,
is, yeah. My
got-
daughter's going into it.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
she'll be a fifth generation.
And they got jokes. They got jokes like,
Oh, we got funeral home jokes.
we stayed there one time up on top, and his dad was like, hey, don't worry, no one's going to bother you. And we're like, oh, you got jokes. Yeah, the dad's going to
Pretty
wait.
quiet place, yeah.
So you grew up there, high school, everything.
I did.
Do any college?
Yeah, went to mortuary school, went to community college, got 2 degrees, one in law enforcement and the other in funeral service technology. And been a fireman. I was a fireman for about 11 years, retired
That's
as
right,
a captain.
That's right.
Yeah, so I've been all over the place.
Now, going for fireman, what made you go to become a game warden?
So I was a fireman for 11 years, and I was also a deputy. So I was a deputy for 9 years before I became a game warden. And I always wanted to be a trooper, and that's the only thing I ever wanted to be. Growing up as a kid was a trooper, and that's why I pick at the troopers all the time. But never could get hired. It just wasn't meant to be.
Right,
and,
right. I remember you talking about that before. You were going to try to switch over, and if you're not familiar with being a police officer and a game warden, two different worlds.
It's
two different
way-
worlds. So if you can explain that. So here, let's go back a little bit, Mike. So you become a game warden. You were a deputy. Is there any comparison in the academies you went through?
Now the Game and Fish Academy was horrible. It was
like bad, hard,
It was hard.
or just
Yeah, it
bad
was-
experience.
No, it was a good experience. It was great training. It was very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, where in the police academy you ran and did all that stuff, which is fine. I mean, it was cool, but we had to swim.
Wow.
And swimming's a whole different animal. You know, when they throw you in a pool for an
You ain't
hour, you
kidding.
can't stop.
You ain't kidding.
I can't breathe underwater as good as I can running. you
Right,
know?
right.
So we hated to swim, and we had to swim fully clothed. I mean, gun belt, everything.
Well, because you have to be in a lake or on a boat and something
You're in the
happens, you gotta be
water all the
fucking ready.
time. You got to be able to swim. And we
Yeah.
had to swim an hour. You had to swim a mile in an hour to graduate.
Really?
Yeah, that sucked. It was horrible.
See, I used to think I was a good swimmer until I got in the Marine Corps.
I
and
did
was like,
too.
fuck, I suck.
Yeah, I hated
I
swimming.
suck.
You
I was-
ask the kids, I wouldn't get in a swimming pool for years. Like I'm just now, that was what, oh man, 07. And I'm just now where I'll get in a swimming pool again.
Really?
Oh, it ruined me with a swimming pool. I hated it.
When I was in the Marine Corps, you had to jump in there with your uniform on and stuff, and you could either thread water or do laps, or you had to do like so many laps and then thread water or keep swimming.
Yeah.
So I thought it was slick. I was gonna thread water, right? Mike, I'll
Wear
tell
you
you,
out.
I started going under,
Yeah,
and I was like maybe from here to the wall, from the edge of the pool.
yeah.
And I didn't want to grab it, right? Because they're standing there, don't you fucking stop. And went under the first time, I shot up from the pool. And they're like, come on, 90 seconds. And I'm like, oh, fucking 90 seconds ain't shit, right?
Right.
Fucking 90 seconds is a minute and a half, man.
That's
It
a
goes
long
slow.
time, yeah.
And I went under again, came back up, went under again, and finally the whistle blew, right? I got to the edge of the pool, I couldn't get out.
Yeah.
I could not get out. I struggled out. They go get that fucking pussy out of the pool, and it fucking they pulled me out like a seal, and I just flopped on the floor.
They
It's
did
crazy.
that to us. If you got in trouble in the pool, they'd throw a weight in the bottom. You know, it's a 12-foot pool. You had to go down there and get it, come back up with it, and tread water with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you didn't get in trouble in the pool.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not a good
no.
idea.
Made it worse.
It
Made it
did.
worse. But that's good that they put you some thorough like that.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
It was very rigorous. So in the Game and Fish Academy, the main thing we did was fight, swim, and shoot.
Yeah, because I was going to say that. You're 99. We call it 99 when you're riding alone.
Oh, okay.
I hated it.
Oh.
I didn't like to do it. I hardly ever did it.
It didn't bother me.
You're in too much shit, and you're fucking by yourself. And especially with you can be miles out from.
Oh, there was no help. I mean, you knew that in the job. You didn't have any help. You know, you're an hour from backup. So you had to be able to either talk your way out of it or fight your way out of it.
Right.
And you learn to talk your way out of a lot of things. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, having to advance in a different direction and go back and get all your people and come back, you know.
Yeah, and I could imagine the terrain you're in, fucking middle of nowhere, fucking, even probably some of the communication, like cell phones probably didn't work in some of those areas.
Well, they had no idea where you even were,
Yeah.
you know.
So what kind of, give us some of your stories. I think you've been in 3 shootings as a game warden? 5 shootings as a game warden?
3 as a game warden, 5 total.
Wow.
Shootings, 2 as a deputy.
And see, people in Chicago, they think it's a fucking crazy city.
Yeah.
Some guys never even fucking shoot their gun.
Wow.
Their whole career.
You would think so up here.
Right? Now it's changed a little bit, but a lot of guys never even shot their gun their whole career.
I know.
You know?
As a game warden, I was in 3.
3 of them.
And 2 of them death occurred.
Really?
So they were that bad.
Right. I know you go through everything, right? Poachers and
So we're state law enforcement. We're just like a trooper. We just don't wear the cool big hats.
Right. They're on highway.
Yeah, they're on the highway.
Mostly.
We're on the gravel.
Right.
But we handle whatever. I mean, we stopped cars. We did whatever we had to do.
Mike almost got me killed one time. We were going to somebody was shooting early on. Was duck hunt, right? It was the day before opening day.
Shooting, poaching ducks. What they were doing.
We're on this little, what would you call that road? Because
it was a levee.
A levee.
Yeah.
And fucking the
canal
truck went
ditch.
in, water came in. He said, "Stay in the truck," and he's trying to
winch it out. I hear Rick hollering, "Mike!"
Yeah, all this water's coming in. I'm trying to move all his gear to one side. So
brand new truck too. So
yeah.
That's the one. The door's hanging on the wall.
But that was after then, right?
That was.
That was after May 20th.
Oh yeah, it was.
That's right. I thought it might have been before, but it was after.
No, that was a green truck that's in the museum.
Oh yeah, it had to be after because I didn't meet you after that.
Right.
Duh. That's right. It was your new truck.
Yeah, it was a brand new truck.
Could we talk about taking the seats out?
Oh wait, yeah, I had that. So it was pretty funny. The water come over the console when they pulled me through the canal. The truck fell off in the canal and they drug me out with a tractor. The water come in my lap. It was bad. Water's running out of the doors, and luckily I'd turned all my equipment off, but I had to make that phone call. I was like, "Hey, Captain," I was like, "You sure look pretty today," you know. I was like, "Man, you won't be any more surprised than me." But I was working and my truck slid off in the ditch, and I got a little water in the floor. And he's like, "Oh, you were working though, right?" I said, "Yeah, we were trying to catch some duck hunters and." Kind of got the floorboard a little wet in it. And he was like, "That's what happens when you work." And I was like, "Okay, I'm glad you feel that way." But yeah, we'd stripped the entire interior out of the truck, had fans in there blowing.
Funny.
The truck.
And I'm no mechanic whatsoever. I had no idea what it was.
I tore the whole inside of the truck out. But yeah, that truck never smelled the same either.
No, I can imagine. You almost swimming in it.
It was bad.
Oh, that was funny. It was a big crane. What kind of tractor was that? It looked like a big
It was huge.
grasshopper.
Yeah, it was a huge Versatile is what it was. It had big wheels on it. I knew when they pulled me it was going to go all the way down that canal, and it did. I remember that water coming through the windows.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my God."
I'm sitting there watching them being dragged. I'm like, what the?
Yeah, I probably
fuck
should
is
have
going
rolled
on?
the windows up. I didn't want to drown, did it?
So, Mike, let's go to May 20th, 2010.
Yeah.
Start from the beginning, like wake up in the morning and.
Yeah. So I was working off-duty security for the pipeline that was coming through. They were paying us like $25 an hour to sit in our trucks, sit there all night. Well, that night I didn't realize it, but I was watching training videos. I'd watch training videos all night long. I'd watch Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2, SWAT. I knew what I was doing the next day, but I got home late. At the time I was married. I had 3 small kids. I have girls, and I have a nickname for my girls, Mitches. You know what a Mitch is?
What is
That's a mini bitch. Little bitches in training.
I had a feeling, but I didn't want to say it.
Yeah, little bitches in training is what they are, little Mitches. But I had a routine at the time, and every day I got up, we did the same thing. I was Mr. Mom. You know, I got the kids ready. I got them dressed, took them to school, picked them up for school, took them to practices, did whatever. But every morning I'd get up, get the kids ready, take them to school. I'd meet 2 other game wardens, and we'd go work out. and do MMA and, you know, trying to stay fit for, we were on patrol. I mean, you got to be able to handle business. Now I'm out of shape and sheriff and fat and all that. But that morning I was tired, and I told the wife at the time, I said, hey, I want you to get the kids up, take them to school. I'm going to sleep in. I'm tired, you know. The kids running around, you know, acting crazy. There wasn't much sleeping going on.
Oh, right.
So I made the decision to go ahead and get up. And I was tired. I said, I'm not going to do a whole lot today. So I put my gun and my badge on. I went to war. Because that's what we're doing now as cops. It's a war on cops. But I didn't put my vest on. So I'm not going to do anything today. I'm going to make this an administrative day. I'm going to ride around the air conditioner and go to the sheriff's department and hang out. So I didn't put on a vest. And I went to work like any other day. Beautiful May 20th. It was sunshiny. Nothing bad happens on sunshiny, pretty days.
Right.
You know, it's all good. It didn't work out like that. But I went to work.
What you don't expect.
Oh, yeah.
When you think something's going to be hard,
Yeah.
oh, that was easy. When you think it's going to be easy, well, that was hard.
And I tell people now, you know, when you're the police, you're looking for evil. You're always looking for evil. And when you're looking for evil, you're going to find evil. And no matter what, you're going to find it. But when you're not looking for evil, evil will find you. So you always have to have that edge.
You got that saying, what do you say?
It's not a matter of if, it's when.
It's when.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
When's your day? Are you ready for it? Or are you going to rise to your level of training, or are you going to fall to your level of training?
Yeah.
And that's on you, you know, as an officer. But May 20th, you know, I went to work, and we covered 7 counties as a game warden. I don't know if people understand how a game warden works. We don't have a schedule. So our schedule was, I was off on Mondays and Tuesdays. That week of the May 20th, I'd had court on Monday, which pushed my regular days off, RDOs, to Tuesday, Wednesday. So Thursday was my Monday for the week, basically.
Okay.
And that was May 20th. Covering 7 counties, we could roam anywhere we wanted.
Just an estimated, how big is that? How many
7
miles?
counties?
7 counties.
Oh,
Because it sounds like it's fucking...
It's huge.
Yeah,
That's huge. That's
thousands of miles.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because Monroe County is 622 square miles, just that one county.
Right,
And it's not as big as St. Francis, Lee, and the rest of them. So that's a lot of territory.
And how many guys are out there on a daily basis?
You might have 2 game wardens
Really?
in that district on at the same time.
Yeah.
Because we all kind of work different, you know, depending on what time of the year and what you were looking for and that kind of thing. But this was during the morning, so there's maybe 1 or 2 more out with me, and troopers and all that other stuff. But,
Right.
I had communications with all 7 counties in that truck. So it was like a spaceship, you know, it had antennas all over it. And I was out working and riding around bored, and my dad was setting up at a little country church for a funeral. So I pulled in and talked to him for a little while. And when I come back out to the truck, every one of the radios in that truck were talking. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, something unusual.
Yes, this is bad. You know, anytime it's something like that happens, it's crazy on the communications. That's where the biggest failure in a mass incident is communication. And this is one of those days. But I picked up the phone, I called a buddy of mine, he's Philip Hyder in Arkansas State Police, he's CID SWAT, and I said,
I met him.
yeah, you remember Philip. I said, as soon as he answered the phone, man, his siren's running. I was teasing him. I was like, well, you late for coffee?
Yeah.
You got your siren running? You know, and he's like, no, we got a bad deal. He said, we got 2 cops in West Memphis been shot with AK-47s. Said it's a possible MS-13 hit. So when a trooper speaks, and I don't know if people realize this or not, but when a trooper speaks, it comes out written in red. You know what that means? When Jesus spoke in the Bible, it was written in red.
Okay.
So they're God. That's basically, hey, if you don't believe me, ask them. They'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, I haven't had any real experience with troopers, but I know this. I've been around the country with the Brotherhood, and a lot of them fear the troopers.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
why are you scared of your fucking troopers?
Oh, yeah. Well, they're the big hat police. But
Yeah, they come around and get quiet. I'm like, they're the same as us, man.
no, they are. And I tease with them about
Yeah,
this. And,
but no, people look at them like that. Like,
right. Yeah, they're the top echelon of the police and in Arkansas. But when he tells you that's what it is, that's what it is.
Right.
That's what you're looking for.
Right, right.
You know, and the communication, like I said, was such a breakdown because when these officers were killed, their camera systems were so full they couldn't get into them. So we didn't know what we were looking for.
Right.
And as the day progressed, it went from we were looking for a van, then it went to a stolen van, then it went to a stolen white church van with the
all that.
MS-13 gang. By the end of the day, we were looking for a stolen white church van with the MS-13 Taliban gang in it. I mean, it's like, good Lord. It's like telling the story over here, and by the time it gets all the way around, it's different.
Now, Mike, you're how far away from West Memphis from where you're at?
When I got the call, I was probably an hour, 10 minutes,
Okay, then.
somewhere along in there.
You
Yeah, I
just-
was nowhere close.
You just went there.
Yeah, so I called Philip. He told me what was going on. I said, I'll be on the way. State law enforcement, I can go anywhere I want. Especially in a situation like that, everybody goes.
Right.
And I pulled over on the side of the road, and that's where my life changed. It has not been the same from that moment forward. I started preparing myself. My guardian angel was guiding me through this. I called my sergeant, and I told my sergeant a little bit of a white lie. I said, hey, Sarge, I know what's up. I'm pretty close. Can I come help? Well, like I just told you, I was over an hour away.
Right.
That's game warden close. That's what that is. I wasn't close. But he said, yeah, get up here as quick as you can. And I didn't tell the Game and Fish I'd souped up my truck, and it'd run about 140. So I was like,
Oh, shit.
yeah, green light, I get to haul butt, and not
Now,
get
your sergeant was already in that area?
Yeah, so he was in that area working when it happened.
Okay.
So he's like, yeah, get up here as quick as you can. And I pulled over on the side of the road, and I grabbed my old vest out of the back, a little zip up expired vest, and I zipped it up, put it on, and I grabbed my rifle out of the rack, and I slung it and hung it right here. And I got back in the truck and started driving.
And you drove like that?
I drove like that. I had it hanging right here the whole entire time. Because I had my hand, I remember hanging my hand in the grip, as I was driving.
Right.
And I started driving over, and I was, running scenarios through my head. How are we going to do this? How are we going to handle it? What are we going to do? Because, as cops, we're fixers. We fix things, when we show up on scene, we have to fix that scene. We're mom or dad on the scene when we get there most of the time. So I was trying to figure out how are we going to do this? How are we going to fix this? And I called my wife. I told her, I said, hey, look at here. I said, we got a bad deal in West Memphis. We got 2 cops shot AK-47s. I'm on my way over there. And she's like, all right, have fun. She's, I don't think she understood the severity as much, but she said, you got your vest on? I was like, I do. I said, what they're shooting, it's not going to stop it anyway.
Yeah.
Because I knew what they were shooting, my body armor would not stop
Right.
it. And she said, well, all right, have fun.
Well, your other vest, did you have plates in that one or anything?
No. At the time, I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Just soft body armor. So I knew going into it, it was bad. But, you got this one side person sitting on this side saying everything's fine. You've done this before. They're
Right.
going to be gone. And then you got this other dude sitting over here going, saying, yeah, you should have stayed in bed. Zip it up. You're fixing to get in it. So I'm flying over there. I'm passing deputies. I'm passing troopers. And and they're all like, where's the game warden going? They got some dead possum somewhere or something? Because nobody makes fun of the game wardens, right? Nobody calls them possum cops, or trout cops, or rabbit radar, any of that, right? So I'm flying over there. And I reckon a game and fish truck at 140 burned a lot of gas for an hour. Should have been an hour and a half-ish. I get over there, and my gas light comes on. Ding, 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 ding. I was like, are you kidding me? Really? I got to get gas, because I didn't want to get in a pursuit and run out of gas, and a trooper have to stop and pick me up.
Right.
Both of us can't fit in a car with their hat,
Yeah.
So I slide into the gas station, and I didn't know where I was even at. And if you hang around me long enough, you know squirrels run fast in my brain.
Now, this was the Walmart gas station?
No, this is just inside West Memphis.
Okay.
I had no idea where I was at. I'd come in a back way. Didn't really know much about West Memphis then. Because don't go there. If you ever get a chance, don't go.
Yeah.
It's a horrible place. But I slide in there, and I go to get out to get gas, and I'm trying to fill my truck up as quick as I can, so I can go get in a fight or go find the bad guys, trying to hurry. And my gun's swinging around, it's still hanging right here. All the people were hiding behind their cars trying to gas their car up. Well, God has a way of getting your attention when you're not paying attention. And this was one of those moments. It was a very humbling moment. And it was about like getting kicked in the gut. honestly. I needed it because I was so amped up, you
Fired
know.
up, yeah.
I was just a space cadet at that point. And I looked up, and I had stopped at the Horizon Shell gas station at the 275 mile marker. And 200 yards behind that gas station is where the two officers were killed, Bill and Brandon. And you talking about a humbling moment. You know, here was two guys, got up that morning, they did the same things I did, but they're not going home. You know, they paid the sacrifice. So I needed that at that moment. It was a gut check. I was able to refocus my attention and my drive. And honestly, I was mad. I was really mad. And I got back in that truck and I drove over that interstate, and I looked down as I went over the overpass, and I could see the crime scene and see the guys under the sheets and everything. And it really, really gave me that, that drive. So I turned around and I come back over and I looked one more time, and I turned on the service road and I started driving down the service road. So traffic's backed up. They had shut down the bridges when this happened. They shut down 55 south to Jackson, I-40, east to Nashville, and I-55 north to St. Louis. So they backed traffic up forever.
If you go on YouTube and look up the West Memphis, Arkansas shootout, you can watch this whole video from the start to the finish.
Every bit of it.
And Mike's talking about shutting down the highways. If you watch the assistant officers get there, they're kind of in a panic. They don't know what to do. And do you know the officer that finally made the call to shut everything down?
DJ O'Clair.
Yeah, he's like, shut it down. Shut it all down.
Shut it all down.
I remember watching it in the video.
Yep, they did. They shut down all the bridges, and that trapped them in the town. They couldn't get out. That's what it was. So these suspects had gone to Walmart right after the shooting, and the boy had went inside and was shopping for like 15 minutes while the dad was outside messing with his van. And they leave and they go to an apartment complex behind Walmart, and that's where they're changing their clothes, taking their plates off their van, and they get spooked, so they drive back to Walmart. So why do they keep going to Walmart?
Yeah.
So they can blend in, they can hide. That's what they were trying to do, or carjack someone. And that's what they did. And you can watch the video of all this, their movement through the town. And they even backed into a parking spot. A deputy drives right by, doesn't see them, because we're looking for a stolen white church van.
And that's the other thing, guys. The dispatcher's got the plate from the FedEx driver?
Well, the tag was run by
Prior
Bill.
to that.
Yeah, Bill had run the tags on it.
And it came back to a church.
It did.
So they assumed, right, that it was a church van with writing on it.
Right.
But never.
There was no writing.
Yeah.
It was just a dirty little trashy van. I mean, you would never have paid any attention to it.
Right.
Especially what we were being told to look for. That was not the suspect vehicle we were looking for. So when they get back to that Walmart, and you see them moving through the parking lot, and about that time, an unmarked unit pulls in. And that unmarked unit had the sheriff and his chief deputy in the car. And the sheriff was unarmed. He didn't have a firearm.
Really?
The chief deputy had a pistol, and they were shot immediately.
Which one's Wren?
WA was the chief deputy.
He was the chief?
Yeah, he was chief deputy. And then Sheriff Busby, we lost him in 19 to cancer. But they make a head-on traffic stop, and they're gunned down immediately.
Right.
Sheriff Busby takes one through the shoulder. WA takes 2 or 3 to the abdomen from the AK-47, so he's critically injured. And you see them in the videos fall out on the ground, and they crawl to the back of the car. Well, I had met that unit, didn't realize who they were. I'd passed them, and I missed the turn when they called out and said, suspects are in Walmart parking lot, row 12. And I was like, crap, there's Walmart right here. And I turned and come in the other way, and they made the head-on traffic stop on the west side of the parking lot, and I come in from the east, right in front of the Walmart doors. So as I make that turn, I see them get gunned down right in front of me.
Right.
I mean, you put yourself in my shoes. What would you think? How would you handle that? And I already knew they'd killed 2 that morning. And
So
in
there's
my
no fucking
mind,
around here.
yeah, it's time
police.
to stop this. Yeah,
Right.
I had to put an end to the killing. And in my mind, they had killed both them. I thought they were dead.
Right. No, it looks like.
Yeah, they did. I mean, I saw them on the ground.
And that's why Wren didn't die. You get 3 shots to the admin with an AK-47.
Wasn't even wearing a vest. He was
Yeah.
like 72 years old at the time.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he said Wren's still alive. I just talked to him a
Did
couple
you?
weeks ago. I did. But anyway, I see them fall out on the ground, and I knew what I had to do. The Game and Fish had phenomenal firearms training. They had trained us to shoot through our windshields. They started that in '98. That was unheard of in '98 to shoot through your windshield. So we were trained to shoot through that windshield, and I knew it would work. So I see the suspect standing outside the van. He has the door open, and he has, standing in between the A post and the door, and he's firing. He has his back to me, and I thought, I'm gonna run up there and I'm gonna punch him through the windshield. I'm just gonna shoot him. He don't even know I'm back here. Well, state police estimated my speed's about 55 in the Walmart parking lot, and try driving 55 through Walmart parking lot.
Right.
That's flying. I didn't realize I was going that fast. I just had the hammer on it, and I had pulled my rifle up. I was driving with my left hand, and I had my rifle kind of sitting on the steering wheel, charging towards him, because I knew I was fixing to gun him through the windshield, engage him. Well, if you watch the video, you'll see him. He'll turn around, he hears me coming, and he gets back in the van, he shuts the door. He starts backing up. At that point, the kid is Dukes of Hazzard style out the passenger window, and he's just spraying the police car with an AK.
The one that's already in front of him.
Yeah, WAs and Sheriff Busby. He's just eating it up with an AK.
And this is the little motherfucker that shot the other 2 officers.
Yeah, he is. He's the one that did all the killing.
Right.
The son did. He was 16. So I didn't know he was even there. I never saw him. All I saw was a driver. So as I'm approaching him, they start backing up, and I thought, I'm going to hit you square in the ass. You're not getting out of here. I wasn't going to let them get out.
Right.
And they weren't expecting that. They weren't expecting me to ram them. I mean,
I don't think anybody expects
I don't think anybody expecting that, but I've always been that.
I think you can honestly say you shocked the world with that.
I've always been an aggressive person. I played football as a linebacker, and I was always taught you hit them harder, it doesn't hurt as bad.
Right.
And that was the mentality going to that. I'm fixing to knock the shit out of you. I'm going to hit you as hard as I can. And at that last second, I remember that van turning, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm fixing to fuck you up right here. And in my mind, Michael Bay has lied to us. I don't know if Michael Bay's the director of Bad Boys, all the movies. And in the movies, when they'd hit them vehicles, they'd roll over and blow up. So in my mind, it's going to roll over and blow up.
And the way you hit him, I'm surprised it didn't tip.
Me too. Well, I pinned him into the curb. I think that's why. So I hit him as hard as I could. Hit him right in the back passenger door, right behind the driver's seat. So my push bumper saved my life because the airbags didn't deploy. Oh. That would have been bad. I wasn't wearing a seatbelt. So I hit him, and my push bumper is touching the driver's seat. I've pushed that B post all the way into his chair, is what I've done. So he's at the end of my hood. And on impact, this is the only thing I could figure.
Talking?
7 feet.
7 feet?
Yeah, so we're 7 feet from one another. On impact, the only thing I can come up with, because I broke the steering wheel with my body when I hit the steering wheel, it twisted it. And I guess that the impact knocked me into the center of the truck, right where the radio and air conditioner controls are. Because that's where the first 2 rounds were fired from, was center of the truck.
From you?
From me. So when we hit, he immediately turns in his seat with the pistol. I thought it was an RPG. When you're looking down the angry eye of a Colt 45 Taurus Judge, I was like, oh my God. And that's when I fired the first 2 rounds. And those first 2 rounds struck him right here. And I knew it was done. I mean, it was very obvious that was over. And I tell people in training, in a firefight, you're looking for 3 things. And when you're having to take out a threat, you're looking for electricity, plumbing, and structure. That's about as simple as you can put it. You hit someone in the head, that's electricity. You shut it all off. It's done.
Right.
If you can't do that, you go for plumbing and structure. That's where you shoot hip bones, whatever, because there's plumbing in those. And that's why officers are taught shoot center mass. That's where all your plumbing and your electricity in the spinal cord is there. So I'd hit him twice. I knew that was done. I didn't know how many were in the van. at the time. But all I saw was fire coming.
Because you're still thinking MS-13.
Yeah, I didn't know how many were in there.
Right.
Yeah, I knew it was more than one. So I start seeing the fire off the rifle, and he's about 8 foot, maybe 7.5, 8 foot from me. The rounds start coming through the windshield, the glass stuff starts hitting me in the face. I dive over to the side, and when I do, I bust my forehead right here on my laptop computer. It gave me a concussion. The one that didn't knock me out, cut my forehead.
Yeah.
And I remember shrapnel hitting me on my left side, and I remember it hurting. And I thought, you better start shooting. So I popped back up, and I could see the fire. I never heard my rifle. I never heard his rifle. I can still hear my buffer spring in the tube of my rifle going ching, 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 ching. And I can hear the rounds cracking coming through the truck, the popping.
So they say when...
It's auditory exclusion is what that is.
You lose certain things,
Oh, yeah.
but you...
Everything else kind of focuses in.
And it
It's hypersensitive.
magnifies.
It does, yeah. So I was hyper focused on him and the blast coming off the end of that rifle. And I knew he was on the other end of it. I never saw him. All I could see was that gunfire. So I knew he was on the other end of it, and I started banging as hard as I could. And I remember thinking, shoot faster, shoot faster, shoot faster. Because I'm still taking incoming rounds. I mean, we're banging away at 8 feet, the AK-47 and a .223.
What kind of clip you got in your...
It had a 30-round metal mag in
30
it.
rounds?
So I had 30 rounds in it. So that's the scary part is I remember the gun locking back. And I dove back over.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, God, yeah. And I remember, so they taught us to shoot through the windshield, but they didn't put us in those critical incidents or amp us up and make us do a malfunction or a reload in the vehicle. So in a critical incident like that, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to rise to your level of training or you're going to fall to your level of training. And at that instant, I fell to my level of training. I didn't have that tool in my toolbox. So I was not able to get that done.
Right.
Because these things, they go to mush, in a critical incident. And if you don't have that training, it's not going to work. And I tell people, you have to have it mentally in your head or your body's not going to go. Your body will never go where your mind hadn't been. So if you're not mentally ready for a situation, you're not going to handle it.
Right.
And that was one of those instances. I didn't have it.
Now, do you believe that... I always put a situation in my head.
Absolutely.
And people go, that
What if
doesn't work. I go,
visualize it.
You got to visualize yourself
You do,
doing it
yeah.
because when it happens, it's going to fuck you up if you don't think.
Right.
Well, you almost do it automatically then.
Yeah.
When you visualize it.
You
right?
absolutely do. And that's what I tell people. Win that fight sitting in your seat right now. If you can't win that fight sitting in the seat right now, you're not going to win it on the street. And it's just like, just say high school football. Think about that. What do those guys do in high school football? We watched film on the team that we were playing the next week to prepare for them. Because at Friday night, 7 o'clock, we were going to war with them.
Right.
And, colleges do it. NFL does it. Sunday at noon, they're going to play that other team. Think about your UFC fighters. What do? For 6 months to a year, they're watching film on the other guy, and they train and train and train. Because Saturday night at 9 o'clock, they know they're going to have that fight.
Right.
Well, as law enforcement, we don't get that. You have no idea when your number is going to be punched. Yeah, and you have to be able to handle that moment.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it mentally, it's not going to work. You'll be a statistic. You're going to get a flag. That's what I try to train people.
That's a good point.
Be ready for that moment. And I couldn't get that gun reloaded. I'm laying on top of it. I closed the bolt on an empty chamber. I failed. I couldn't do anything. I was laying on my service weapon. I couldn't get it out. My rifle still locked in there, shotgun still locked in the rack. I couldn't get it out. And that's when my guardian angel threw the truck in reverse. And when you watch that video, I'd love to sit there and tell you, yeah, I knew where I was going. I didn't give a damn where I was going. They were shooting real bullets. I didn't like it no more, and I wanted out.
And that's right. Then that bush jumped in front of you.
Yeah, I did some free landscaping for Walmart. Shit, I didn't even charge them. Cleaned out all their bushes, and then that woman backed out and hit me. That's my story. I'll stick to that. I didn't hit her. But you'll see in that video, I roll out of the truck. I transition to my pistol. And as I'm coming out of the truck, my hat falls out on the ground. And if you watch the video closely, there's a shotgun blast you'll see go by. So there was an officers had pulled up behind me and were engaging. And when I come out of that truck, there was a guy with a shotgun, and he fires a round right by my face. And I was like, oh my God, you'll see me duck. So I ducked my head down, and I run behind my truck, and I laid down. So there were 17 shooters in that parking lot at that point.
No kidding.
Other officers have responded. And there were 17 shooters fired over 240 rounds. So I'm laying behind my truck listening to all this. I'm hurting. My hands are chewed to pieces from the glass and shrapnel coming through the windshield. My face was chewed up. I had a piece of glass went through my left eye. I blew my left eardrum. It's bleeding. My eye's bleeding. My face is bleeding. I had glass in my mouth. And I'm hurting on my side, and I'm trying to find, I knew I was hit. I was like, where am I hit? I'm trying to find the holes.
Yeah.
And about that time, they got a guy over there. His name's Nick James, and they call him Ginormous for a reason. And Nick,
I wish that was caught on video.
I wish it was too, because Nick picks me up off the ground, and he's screaming at me. Well, I can't hear. I've blown my eardrums. I can't hear anything. And he's screaming, are you okay? Are you okay? I said, yeah, I think I'm hit. And he rips my jacket open, or the vest, and he's like, no, you're fine, let's go. And he starts dragging me like a kid. And I was like, I don't want to go back up there. That was not fun. I don't want to go back, And as we go by, I reach in my truck, and I grab my rifle out, and I reload it, make ready, and you can see us all walking up to the car.
Yeah, it was kind of a dangerous spot.
Everybody surrounded it. And
Right.
then everybody's like, whoop, and we all get
Someone
on the
said something,
line.
right?
Yeah,
Someone's
everybody's
like,
like,
"Hey,
get on the
fucking-
line." So
You're in the crossfire here.
we were bad crossfire, because the guys on the other ends were shooting. These guys were shooting. Everybody's shooting. So there were 6 cars that were hit total.
And the amazing thing, nobody else got hit.
Nobody else.
Shooting.
There was
And
nobody else.
wasn't there a
injured.
lady sitting in the car?
There was a lady sitting in her car on smoke break, and the shooting happened right in front of her, right where I hit him, right in front of her.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and Philip was running down the lane going toward the van, and she was trying to crawl out. And he's got his rifle and he's screaming, get back in the car. And she crawls back in the car, and he said, I was sitting there, he said, about an hour later, he was like, where's that woman at? So he goes over and looks in the car, and she's in a fetal position in the floor.
Do you blame her?
Yeah, she didn't get out.
You're
She
at the
laid in
OK
there for
Corral
like an
now.
hour, like an hour. And she said, can I get out now? And he's like, yeah, you go ahead and get out,
She peed herself.
I'm sure, probably had to have hazmat
Poor
clean the
lady.
car out. But we got up on that line, and I remember they were opening the passenger door, and I was so mad. I thought, I'll shoot you again. And they drug this person out onto the ground. I remember thinking, oh my God, that's a kid. I just shot a kid. I had no idea what I was shooting at.
So was it like a moment of, was that the kid that shot at me, or somebody else in the van? Like, did you maybe shoot somebody that fucking wasn't involved?
No, I knew. I mean, the gun was laying there in his lap
Yeah.
when they drug him out. I knew,
Okay.
that was who was shooting at me,
Right.
and I knew the position of the shooter where he was. So I knew that person in that seat was shooting at
Gotcha.
me. But when they drug him out, I was really shocked. I was like, oh my God, that's a kid. I have kids.
Right.
That was a really hard pill to swallow for a long time.
Can imagine.
That was really tough.
Can imagine.
But they handcuffed him, made the scene safe, and a little while later, I'm still wandering around. I mean, your adrenaline's so high, and then it just dumps, and you don't even know where you're at. And I was walking around kind of dazed and confused, and one of the old highway patrol officers come up and grabbed me and said, come on, boy, you hurt. And I said, no, I'm good. I'm fine. He's like, no, your eyeballs are bleeding. You should come get some help,
Right.
So he takes me over to the back of the Band-Aid bus, and they had just flown WA out, and all the blood in the back of that ambulance. I remember thinking, I'm not getting in that. That's gross.
Right.
And I thought, I better call my wife. So I pulled my phone out. I was trying to call her, and the medic was trying to take my phone away from me. And I was like, stop. Hold on, Scooter. I'll give it to you in a minute. And I had called her and hung up on her. So when I called her back, I said, hey, look at here. She said, what have you done now? And the only thing I could get out is, I've wrecked my truck. I need a ride. They're taking me to the hospital. Come get me. I mean, the brain's just not working.
Right.
And they take me to the hospital, and the best part of the entire day was I had 4 nurses took off all my clothes. So if you ever get that opportunity, take that shit. That was a good time. They were all females, don't get it twisted. But
Yeah, I was gonna say.
no, they were all women. But they took me to the back. You know, they're digging in my face and trying to get all the glass and stuff out of my hands and my eyes and my ears. And I was laying there in the hospital bed, and the doctor come in. He said, boy, what you want me to do with that forehead? You want me to sew it up or glue it? And I said, well, chicks dig scars. I said, sew that joker up. And they said, no, we're going to glue it. So they glued it up, and it looks like a wrinkle now and a dent. But yeah, they glued my forehead up, and I'm laying there in the hospital bed, and I ain't got a clue what's going on. You know, I'm just rattled. And about that time, a trooper walks in. Now, this guy's 6'6", somewhere along in there. He comes walking in the door, has his hat on, looked like a 10-penny nail when he walks through the door, you know. And he walks all the way up to my bed, and he leans all the way over, and his hat is like right here. And he said, boy, are you okay? And I said, yes, sir, I am. He said, that's good. He said, my name's Mickey Strayhorn, Arkansas State Police. You see my hat? I swear to God, he said that. And I was like, yeah, I see your hat. It's right here. Yeah. And he's like, so you're okay? And I said, yes, sir, I'm fine. He said, that's good. I'm going to write you a ticket. I said, you're going to do what? And he's like, yes, sir. He said that was careless prohibited driving. He said, you backed into a car in Walmart parking lot, and I'm here to write you a ticket. Man, I lost it. I went to screaming and cussing and hollering and told him what he could do with his hat, his ticket book, and where he could stick it. And he was like, whoa, slow down. I didn't know Mickey then. I had no idea. This guy's a character. He's hilarious. He's a super funny dude. He's like, man, I'm just playing. I was like, well, I'm not in the mood to play. You know?
Right. I'm in the hospital there. So.
I'm in a hospital beat up here. And the doctor comes running in, and he's like, Officer Neal, your blood pressure's out of control. I was like, no shit. I said, let me put you in the truck, shoot it to pieces, and this asshole tell you going to write you a ticket, you know. So they finally get me calmed down, and the wife, I'd married out of my pay grade. She was super, super pretty, but goofy. And she'd gone and gotten all the kids and showed up at the hospital, you know, like a little choo-choo train with all the kids.
They're jumping on you?
Yeah, well, they get to the doors, and my sergeant tells me later, she walks up, and he says, hey, you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. Why? And he's like, ooh, well, what do you know? And she's like, well, he wrecked his truck again. And he was like, there's a little more to it than that, you know. But they finally, I remember the kids getting to come in and see me, and the brain's still not working. You know, I'm still not right. And they discharged me. I was probably in there 4 or 5 hours. And when they discharged
the same
me.
day then, okay.
Yeah, I got out the same day, and they brought me a change of clothes. I changed my clothes. And they bandaged my hands up, my head. And I remember telling her, I said, hey, run me back up to Walmart. I need to get some stuff out of my truck. We get to Walmart, and I get out, and it was like a record stops. Everybody stops and turns around and looks at me, and I was like, oh, crap. And there's blood everywhere, and there's tore up police cars, there's dead bodies on the ground, and my truck's all tore to pieces, and there's these 3-lettered agency jackets running around, FBI and all this, and I was like, I'm going to jail. They're going to arrest me. I just shot 2 people in broad daylight in Walmart parking lot, you know, that was dumb. So as I'm walking up, at some point in the shooting, I pushed my panic alarm in my truck and got on the radio and called for help. I had no idea.
Really?
No. In the Game and Fish policy and procedure says if you discharge your firearm, you're to immediately notify your captain or lieutenant to come to your location. And that's exactly what I said on the radio. I had no idea.
You don't remember it?
I do not. So they brought me in like 3 days later for an interview. And when I come into the room, there's all the brass of the state police and the Game and Fish and the lawyers and the investigators. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired right here, you know. And I walked in and sat down, and Philip, was there, and Philip said, all right, Neal, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the videos, all the videos, the audio inside your truck, and then we're going to start working on the reports and interview you. And I raised my hand real quick. He said, what is it? I said, do I need to resign now or later? Because I'd always been told, when you get in that situation, resign immediately. You know, don't get fired, resign. And I was like, do I need to resign or
Right.
what? And he said, no. Why? I said, well, you said audio inside my truck. I didn't know you were recording me inside my truck. That's a good piece of information I need to know. And he said, no, nobody's recording you in your truck. He said, this is where you got on the radio and call for help. And I raised my hand again. He's like, what? I was like, do I need to resign now or later? I said, because I didn't get on the radio. And he said, yeah, you did. I said, no, I'm pretty sure I was there. I didn't get on the radio. He's like, pretty sure you did. But I said, well, did I say something bad? And he was like, no, you did everything. It was perfect. Everything I said was perfect. The entire day, my guardian angel kept me in line the entire day. But my captain and lieutenant had showed up on scene. And I remember walking up there and my lieutenant was whittling on a stick or something. I said, LT, what am I going to do? He said, what are you talking about, boy? I said, they're going to fire me. He said, no, I don't think it's going to go like that. And I said, yes, sir, they're going to fire me. I'll be back in the funeral business before nightfall tonight. I said, they're going to fire me. He said, I don't think so. And about that time, I looked up. Here comes my colonel. Mike Canada was a big guy, bald head, you know, not completely bald, just a big dude. And I was like, oh, God, he's going to fire me right here in front of everybody. And he comes up, and Mike gives me this big old hug, and he kissed me on the cheek. And he said, boy, you okay? And I said, yes, sir, I'm sorry. And he said, for what? I said, I'm pretty sure I totaled out that truck too, sir. I don't know if you're catching on to this, but I went through 7 trucks at Game and Fish. So he said, boy, you don't worry about that truck. I'll buy you a brand new one. And I thought, Game and Fish don't have new trucks. I said, and you're going to give me a new truck? I said, okay, you know. So they bring me a truck, and it was old wore-out green Game and Fish truck. And I thought, yeah, there's that new truck. Well, about a month goes by, and they called me up and said, Neal, come up here to the training center and get your new truck. And I thought, okay, you know. So I get there.
A little better than what I got.
Yeah, it'd be something close to what I got. So I get there, and they throw me the keys, and brand new keys.
When in that room did you realize you weren't in trouble?
Once they started interviewing me, once we started getting going, I knew that I was okay. You know, they were trying to make sure I'd done everything correct. But yeah, when they gave me that new truck, I couldn't believe it. I was like, did y'all not see what I did to that truck and that truck and that truck?
So guys, like I said, it's on YouTube, the video. There's a lot of twists and variations in this story that you got to really pay attention to.
Right.
Mike can tell you a few of them, like how many dispatchers they went through with this?
Three
dispatchers?
Three. Well, four. Cause
they fainted, or
yeah,
one was engaged?
One of them, Sunday Miller was engaged to Bill.
Yeah.
And yeah, she fell out in the dispatch room, and yeah, it was just a mess.
The sergeant that was killed, his father was a chief.
Yep.
Bobby
Powder. Yep.
Yep. I pronounce that right, Powder?
Yeah, Powder. Mm-hmm.
And the uncanny thing about it was he was leaving out of town and showed up on the scene.
Yeah.
Which, could you imagine?
No.
I mean, I don't want to see an officer like that.
Oh no, it was.
Let alone your son.
So yeah, when Chief Powder got on scene, he said I was confused, and he said, you know, he had heard the call go out, and he said it had to be state police or highway patrol. You know, he didn't hear anything else, and he said when I got on scene, it was my guys. You know, and he got out, and he was walking down, and you can watch this on video too. All the guys were huddled around Bill, and they were saying, Bill, you're going to be all right. And he said, I knew then that was Bill Evans. And he said, well, there was an officer laying beside his car. And he said, I know who it was. And he turns and goes up the hill, and that's where one of the captains tried to stop him, said, don't go up there, it's bad. And he pushes him out of the way, and that's where he finds his oldest son executed 3 rounds of the head with an AK-47.
Man, final motherfucker.
Yeah, just violent. And he said, man, I didn't know what to do as a father or as a chief. He said, I was pretty lost. You know?
Yeah.
I could not imagine.
You know, and Bob's been through a lot of shit since then. When this happened, we sent 2 officers from Chicago Attendant Services That's how we got to know and meet Mike. Bob and Mike came into our gala, I don't know what year it was, to do a speaking about this whole shooting and everything. And Bob was showing a clip, and when he took the kid out, put him in handcuffs. Do you remember that? And was it the FBI that told him not to show that clip?
Yeah.
So there it is. This little motherfucker killed his son, executed him, and they don't want him to show the clip of this kid in fucking handcuffs on the ground dead. So it went forward 2 clips, and then Bob says, "Could you go back 2 clips?" And he goes, "I'm showing it twice." And the whole crowd erupted, fucking clapping, you know, because they don't want to show it. You know what? I'm gonna show it twice.
Yeah.
And then fuck them.
Well, that, you know, those guys were on the FBI watch list anyway.
Yeah.
And never told anybody. You know, they weren't sharing the information
Right.
with local law enforcement, and they, you know, Brandon and Bill run up on them, had no idea what was even going on or anything.
And you know, and that's a higher level, Mike, because I remember being a Chicago police officer, and there would be officers that got certain information and wouldn't share it.
Right.
Like a car that was just in a shooting, they knew the type of the car, which is so dangerous for anybody, even a civilian out there. But especially an officer that might pull that car over knowing that
You
he
have no
just
idea.
shot at somebody or killed somebody, and you're not sharing it because you want to get that arrest. You want to go find him. And I always thought that was bullshit. I always thought that was bullshit.
Well, and anymore, you know, when an officer walks up to that car, he has no idea what he's coming up against. You know, it could be the old lady going to Walmart to get some milk and cookies,
Yeah.
or it could be somebody that just murdered their family and they're waiting to ambush you.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Fucking crazy.
it's a scary world we live in.
So Mike's, the vehicle that was used in this incident is now in the
National Law Enforcement Museum in Washington, D.C.
Nice,
It's on display if you ever get to D.C. It's in Judiciary Square there by the wall. You can go in and see the truck. They just fixed the windshield on it. They took all the tape off and they glued the entire windshield so you can see every bullet hole
Really?
perfectly now.
Wow.
And they glued
Can
the
you
back
get that
windows.
close? I mean,
So you're probably 20 feet from it. It's
Yeah.
it's elevated. So when you walk in, the museum's underground. All of it's underground. So you walk on a catwalk coming in, and you're looking directly at the front of the truck.
Okay.
All the bullet holes.
oh shit.
I mean, you can see it perfectly.
Congressional Medal of Valor?
I did. I got the Congressional Medal of Valor from the Vice President Biden at the time, and then the International Officer of the Year. I got 3 Medals of Valor, 5 life-saving awards. I think total accommodations were 42 accommodations out of that.
Okay.
It was unbelievable.
That's huge. Biden. You felt his nuts?
Yeah, so I got called to the White House, and you know, I'm just a redneck. You know, I'm so country. I'm my own cousin. I mean, it's that bad. So I get to the White House, and I'm in full honor guard uniform, so I look like the country pimp has come to town. And I'm sitting there waiting. They call my name, and as I go to walk up, squirrels are running in my brain. You know, I'm nervous. I'm fixing to meet the vice president, and I think, ooh, let's give him a coin. You know, so I start digging in my pocket to get the coin out. Well, come to find out, the Secret Service does not like you digging in your pocket when you're walking up to the president.
Right.
I highly recommend you don't do that. Because when I looked up, every one of them had their hands on their guns. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm fixing to get shot on national television, you know. So I was like, it's just a coin, don't shoot, you know. So I go up and high five the vice president, slap hands, you know, give him the coin, talk to him for a second. And they said, turn around, face the crowd. So I turn around, face the crowd, and I look over. About that time, he's grabbing the Medal of Valor, and he's walking up behind me. And he is a smaller man than I am. I'm kind of a fat kid. And he's coming up behind me, and I thought, I should go to parade rest, you know. So I go to parade rest real quick. I didn't know at that moment he was leaning around me to put the Medal of Valor, and when I went to parade rest, I slapped him right in the balls. Bam, right on national television. He said, ooh, right in my ear when he was sniffing it. I was like, oh, God, I just hit the vice president in the nuts. I just Forrest Gumped him right on national television here, you know. And he puts the Medal of Valor on, and I'll walk off the stage, and I'll never forget, there was a Secret Service guy. He's sitting there, big bowed-up guy. And when I walked by him, he just shook his head like, yeah. And I thought, he wants to hit him in balls too, so, you know.
And we can go on all day and talk and stuff, Mike. I mean, you've got so many stories.
Yeah.
But let's get into what you're doing now.
Yeah, so now I'm currently the sheriff of Monroe County. Been sheriff 8 years. Left the game and fish in 14 after winning the election. I'm up for re-election in November 8th this year. Hopefully we can secure 4 more years, and after that I'm gonna retire. But started a training company in 2018, and we train law enforcement all over the U.S. and Canada.
Look at the camera and tell them what the company does.
Yeah.
You know,
So
the name of the company.
the name of the company is NNF Training Solutions. It's nftrainingsolutions.org. You can go to our website, read about all our instructors, who we are, and what we do. So we train officers in critical incidents, gunfighting. We train officers in ambushes. We put them in vehicles. We run them through my scenario, what happened to me, and we make sure officers do not fail in an ambush. Is what we do. I don't want an officer failing like I did, so I make sure I put them through the most rigorous training that I can to make it the most realistic, so when this happens to them, they'll live through it. But we also do PTSD training. We do active killer training. We have a whole lot of other things that we do other than just ambush. But the PTSD training is probably the best.
What do you mean?
So
how do you train for that?
what we do is we usually do a 3-day class. First day is just a seminar. So we have 3 different instructors come in, myself, my training partner, Jason Fitzwater, and Jason tells his life story about being a police officer and being in homicide and seeing the graphic things that we do. And it got to the point that he lost his family, lost his kids. He was sleeping in a car. He was going to commit suicide. I mean, so he tells his entire story from hitting rock bottom to building himself all the way back to being the chief of a police department.
Right.
So, and
That's
a lot
amazing.
guys can relate to that. Guys
Right.
want to hear from, guys that
Someone's
have
been
been through
through
it.
it.
Right. And I tell my side of it. I tell my side of the story of the shooting like we just talked about and the things that it did to me afterwards, and being in 5 shootings and killing 3 people in the line of duty, the effects that it has on you. And, we were always taught, you can relate to this, growing up, you got to be tough. Yeah, you hurt, rub a little dirt on it, drink a beer, let's go.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it. And we were always taught not to say anything. You didn't talk about it. It's kind of like the Bad Boys movie when Will Smith and Martin Lawrence got in that fight behind the Haitian's house.
Right.
And they're back there arguing, and he said, "You pop your mama's titty out of your mouth." Martin Lawrence says that to Will, and Will grabs it. He said, "We're going to take my mama's titties and we're going to put them in a little box.
Yeah.
We're going to throw that back here. We're never going to talk about my mama's titties again." Well, that's kind of what we do in life as law enforcement. We see these graphic things or do these graphic things, and we put it in a little box and we throw it back here and we don't talk about it.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like your trash can at home in your kitchen. Well, you throw your trash in there every day. You dump your food in there every day. What happens to it? It fills up.
Right.
And at some points it starts stinking, right? And then it starts spilling out on the ground. That trash can. Well, that's the same thing you got in your head. You keep throwing that stuff in there, you keep throwing it in, it gets bad. Next thing you know, you're drinking and drinking and drinking. Some of them go to drugs, and then some of them start sucking on the end of a pistol.
When they take it home too.
Yeah, they take it home. It spills out on their family, on their kids. And
Right.
we get divorced. We're the highest divorce rate. Law enforcement is.
My brother Ray was on before I was, and one thing he told me, and I always kept it in my head: don't bring it home.
Don't bring it home.
Keep
Leave
it at work.
Yeah.
Don't bring it home to your family.
Find an outlet. Get it
I
out.
think I learned to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get an outlet, and some people work out or run. I'm not a runner. I'm
Yeah.
too fat for that. Or, whatever it is, ride a motorcycle. I'm a hot rod guy. I like to go out in the garage and work on a truck or something, but find that outlet to dump that trash can.
Couple more questions. You guys do seminars,
We do.
right, guys? I've been to one of them. Phenomenal. The guest speakers are all been involved in something
Right.
where they can tell you firsthand,
Yes.
right? When's your next?
So we are booking right now for Indiana, North Carolina, and possibly Florida for next year. We don't
So-
have our dates. They'll be up on the website within the next month.
There you go. What
for
is the
next
website?
year. It's nftraining.org.
nftraining.org, guys.
Yeah.
Last question, Mike. We always ask our guests, what advice do you have to any new law enforcement coming on, or any veteran, or not veteran, but anyone joining the service? Any good advice for a beginner going into, like, say, a game warden's position?
Yeah. Protect yourself mentally. That'd be my advice. Find a way to protect yourself mentally, and don't like we said, don't dump it at home.
Right.
Don't bring it home. Don't and look, if your family asks you questions, answer them. Be upfront. You know, don't say, "Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, it was a bad day. Whatever." You know, yeah, hey, you know, today sucked. This is what happened. You know,
Very important, guys. If you need help, you're a phone call away from anybody.
absolutely.
You are.
Yep.
Reach out.
Yep.
Reach out.
Yep. Find, you know, and everybody knows somebody that's struggling. Honestly, reach out to them. You know, don't let them struggle.
No, it's important, guys. And that's where we lose a lot of the officers. They don't reach out. And they think
Officers,
there's no help.
military, that, you know, all of it.
And don't let one phone call discourage you,
Right.
because there's another phone call. Someone's there.
Yeah.
Someone's there.
Yeah, and you know, guys will say, "I don't need any help. I'm fine. I did it myself. You
Yeah.
know, I don't need it." Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And it's okay to reach out and get help. That's,
I'm a firm believer to get
Yeah.
it out, let it out.
Yeah.
You got to cry.
Yeah.
Go in the shower and cry if you have to. But that's what I believe in.
Yep.
You can't bottle that stuff up like you said. It's going to overflow.
Yep. It's going to
And
come
then
out.
you're going to feel like there's no way out.
Yeah. The worst fight you'll ever find yourself in when you're struggling with, they call it PTSD,
Right.
you know, post-traumatic syndrome or disorder. It's not disorder. It's an injury. This is just a brain injury is what it
And
is.
it's coming rapidly to the police department, which was probably here 50 years ago. And no one ever addressed it to police, only veterans.
Yeah. Call it a PTSI.
Yeah.
It's an injury.
Yeah.
Worst fight you'll ever find yourself in is at night when you turn off that light. That's when it happens.
Yeah.
So that brain goes to running, and you get to overthinking things.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's guys that they're just trying to make it to the next second, to the next minute.
Right.
You know.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, Mike, thank you very much,
thank
buddy.
you, Rick.
Nice seeing you
Appreciate
again. We good?